2020 meeting of the Wakefield Town Council. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance before we start our business. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I see that all the councilors are in attendance. And before we move to the public part of our meeting, we have an executive session to go into to discuss two items. To discuss the deployment of security personnel or strategies with respect to their two of the town, and to discuss litigation strategies, including the case Renzullo v. Town of Wakefield. Discussing them in open meeting at this point could be harmful or detrimental to the town. If I could please have a roll call, motion and a second to enter executive session, and then we'll do a roll call vote.
So moved.
Moved by Paul.
Second.
Seconded by Ed. Roll call vote. Myself, yes. Paul?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Jonathan?
Yes.
Ed?
Aye.
Maureen?
Yes.
And Peter? Thank you. So we can go into executive session now.
Madam Chair, with the intent of coming back into open session.
Absolutely. With the intent of coming back into open session as soon as we are done. Are we all back? Let's see. Okay, Sherry, do we have anyone for public engagement?
No, nobody has checked in with me.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I need, if I could please have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from October 26th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jonathan, seconded by Paul. Any discussion? Okay. Approval of the minutes. Maureen?
Yes.
Yes. Jonathan?
Yes.
Ed?
Aye.
Peter?
I'm sorry, I may have missed the opportunity for public engagement.
Oh, okay. Certainly.
I think you might want to finish the vote first, though.
Right. I was going to just, I'm going to finish the vote to approve our minutes, and then we'll come back to you quickly. Sorry, we didn't realize folks had still been, were still being let into the meeting. Julie?
Yes.
And Paul?
Yes.
So the meeting, the minutes from October 26th, 2020 have been approved. And Mr. Mitchell, you're here for public engagement?
Yes.
Okay. So you just have to identify yourself, give your address. You have 3 minutes, and based on public engagement, we don't engage with you. You just say what you want to say, and we can take it up at a meeting in the future if necessary.
Sure. So my name is Michael Mitchell. I'm from Belmont, Massachusetts, 4 Leslie Road. I'm originally from North Reading, Massachusetts. I have done business in Wakefield with a company that is in your jurisdiction, Liberty Chevrolet, out of I think it's 90 Bay State Road. In 2017, I purchased a vehicle from Liberty Chevrolet that was declared a lemon under the lemon law. I went through arbitration through the Attorney General's office, and then followed with 3 years of litigation that led up until now, 2020 November. This is after an appeal, after 3 appeals and a final return to district court. So we started with the lemon law violation, my attempt to return the vehicle, Liberty Chevrolet's neglectance to adhere to the lemon law, a arbitration that I had to file that was very arduous, and it was something that has its own process and procedure. After the arbitration, I then, they did not adhere to the arbitrator's order. They treated the arbitration as if it was a joke. They sent their mechanic an hour late. This is all publicly documented and it's all available. You can check the district court docket. You can check with the Attorney General's office. But in a way, I felt it was my obligation to kind of report this, knowing that they're up for their Class 2 used dealership license within the next few hearings here, and understanding that this is the council that kind of administers those licenses. So I just wanted to make sure that this information was publicly available to the town council and that it was part of their reviewing process when considering the Class 2 license for a used car dealership for Liberty Chevrolet.
Thank you very much for coming before us. We will definitely take this under advisement, but thank you for bringing this to the meeting.
Is there any information that I could provide you with in regards to this, or are you all set?
I think we're all set. You've given us everything that we would need.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that wish to speak? No. Okay. Moving on to item 7, the COVID-19 update.
You're stuck with me this time, Madam Chair, on the COVID-19 update.
That is
Sorry.
perfect.
You can have enough. Ryan, Ryan or Ian, could you put up that? No, not that. Not that one either. The one I talked about before the meeting, the one pager I wanted to start with. Thank you. All right, so I thought I'd give a little update on a couple of things and talk about some of the changes in the law, because or changing governor's orders, because a lot has changed since we last spoke about this. And the reason why I'm showing you this page here is that I'm rather annoyed that on the state website, they are still showing an old map that shows us as red Wakefield, and I check that every day, and unless that's changed this afternoon. But I will tell you that we are not a red community any longer. We are a green community, and about halfway down this sheet here shows Wakefield with our total case count at 470. That's since they started counting. 34 case count for the last 14 days. An average daily incident rate per 1,000 in the last days, which is 9. That means we've had 9 people per 100,000. And the way that we get this number is, if you would take because it's kind of interesting on this, if you took the 34 case count over the last 14 days and divided that by 14, that would give you a daily count of about 2.4. And then you extrapolated that if we were a $100,000 person community, I think I'm at town meeting talking about money again, we'd be at about 9 cases per 100,000, which does put us in the green area. If you keep going through here, I think it's very interesting that although we don't know how many people were tested more than once, the town of Wakefield, the citizens have done a pretty good job on their testing. We're close to 20,000 tests have been done on Wakefield residents. That's a pretty high amount. Again, I was tested once, so I think I'm 1 in there. But people that have been tested 4 or 5 times, it's not another person. So I think that's pretty interesting. And our positivity rate the last 14 days is 1.58%. That's much better than it was when we were between October 15th and October 29th, but we had 82 cases during that 14-day period. So we know that we had a couple of clusters in there, or maybe 1 cluster in there. So I think the community has done, by and large, a pretty good job in trying to keep this number down. And a lot of it is luck. I've said that all along. One thing, the most important thing we can do is wear a mask. And I have a mask right here. Wear a mask, and that has really changed. So if we can go to the PowerPoint, I can talk a little bit about some of the changes in the law that or in the governor's orders that haven't come through. So there you go. So the governor, last week made a couple of changes that came into effect this last Friday, 12:01 a.m. Early closing and alcohol order. Further revised gathering order and revised face covering over. So if you go to the next slide, please. So really, all residents of Massachusetts are advised to stay home between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. I kind of joked in our COVID-19 update that we do every Friday morning now. My mother's finally got her way. She always said nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night, so you should be home. Other than essential needs, such as seeking emergency medical care, going to a grocery store or pharmacy, actually can pick up, take out food or receive deliveries, you should be home, okay? You should not have gatherings in your home with anybody outside your household during those hours. Also, you need to comply with the governor's order requiring face coverings. And this means everywhere. It means anytime you are in a public area. So we can go to the next slide, please. There's a little bit of confusion on this one, but restaurants, if you have not been seated prior to 9:30, don't think that you're going to get food. If you think you can be seated at 9:15 and order and wolf down your dinner and get out of there before 10, that's not going to happen. So really, people need to be out of the restaurants by 9:30. You can still get a pickup and take it home, but for eating there and get home by 10 o'clock. So that is a big change, and no service or sale of alcohol. So the alcohol stores need to close as too at 9:30. Go to the next slide, please. Big change on gatherings, okay? Indoors at a private residence, no more than 10 people, okay? Outdoors at a private residence, no more than 25 people. I've had a lot of conversations about this with our health department and our police chief, and we are looking at this as a educational incentive. We will be going out to people and telling them that you can't have these gatherings. If we get reports of them, sending people on their way. We do not want to be out there giving fines, because we do not want to have people disperse and run away. And let's face it, it is often young people. And there's a huge problem if there's a gathering of young people and they take off and we can't contact trace them. That's a big part of this. So we see 25 people, we need their names, we need their addresses, so we can make sure if there is any spreading, we can hopefully contain it. So we don't want to be fining people, and it's $500 per person over the limit. So that could be quite hefty, but that's not what we're about. We're not about fining, we're about, getting this pandemic under control. Gatherings at events or venues in public spaces, again, indoors, no more than 25, and outdoors, no more than 50, okay? We are still not a lower risk community because we'd have to have 3 weeks of this, or 3 series of this. But so no more than 50, and as the council knows, with a heavy heart, we have canceled about every outdoor public gathering we could, that has come in front of us. So we are really being very, very careful there. Next slide, please. In the event there is a large gathering, and there won't be because we're not going to allow any, then they have to notify our local Board of Health at least a week in advance to make sure that we get the word out and we have it under control. But that's not going to happen. We really can't add any now. And it's very important that face coverings are required now at all times. And that is something that is really, when you are in the public, you need to wear a mask, okay? That means if you're walking in your neighborhood, you're walking around the lake, you're walking downtown, even if you are there alone, you should be wearing a mask. You need to be wearing a mask under the governor's order. And this is really to get people into the habit of doing it. It seems to me that every medical doctor that I've seen out there has said the mask is our #1 tool right now against this virus. And people should and now have to, under the governor's order, wear a mask all the time. Again, we are using this as an educational motive. We are going around, our police officers have masks in their cars. They're going when they're driving around. They're going to be giving out masks. Again, we don't want to be finding anybody. We want them to wear masks. Tough weekend. This weekend it was beautiful out. People were out there really enjoying themselves. For the most part, when I was down there, it seemed that people were trying to comply. I saw a lot of masks, at least around their neck, so they can put it up. Talked to one gentleman who I happen to know where he lived, not wearing a mask. I was out walking with my wife, and he says, "Oh," I said, "Yeah." So he walked back to his house and got his mask on. That's what we want to see. You can go a few up on this. No, the other way, I think. A few down. One more. Okay, there. So again, revise, all persons over the age of 5 must wear a face covering whenever in a public, indoors or outdoors. And again, public means anywhere that's public. It means walking in your neighborhood. Another one that's interesting is that face coverings are required when carpooling with non-household members. Probably very tough. I know we don't want to have 100 cars going to school at the same time, but this is probably should have always been done, right? This seems to me to be pretty intuitive. It doesn't matter if you can be 6 feet apart, you still have to wear a mask. Children between the ages of 2 and 5 are encouraged but not required to wear face covering. I will tell you, I have a 5-year-old grandson. He does pretty good with the mask. It's become part of his routine. Certainly there are medical and exemptions, and we have heard of a few of those. And employers can require employees to provide proof now of these medical issues. Before, we kind of just took them at their word. Now they need to apply proof. So I know that we're trying to be very good about it on the town side. We're trying to work with our citizens that are out there in the neighborhood. Our numbers seem to be pretty steady over the last week. There's always going to be a few more as the economy opens up, but I envision that we're going to hang in there in the hopefully in the green or yellow area for the foreseeable future. But this is a tough time. We've really changed our messaging or putting out new messaging. Next meeting, I'll be up looking for a banner approval as well to put across Main Street. We're looking into lawn signs that was suggested by Councilor Butt, working with the chamber. We have more signs up. We have the flashing signs moved around. You saw some of the signage at town meeting. So we're trying to get the word out as much as we can to the community. And Tom and Ruth have done a great job, so they both deserved an evening off. So if there's any questions, Madam Chair, just a couple of things to update.
Sure, thank you. I have 2 questions, Steve. One is on the almost 20,000 testing, who are they counting?
I believe they're counting anybody that is a Wakefield resident.
So any of us, so I get tested weekly, my test
Yeah,
gets,
so you're counted every week. So
okay,
that's what I'm saying, it's not person by person, it's by tests.
great, okay, good,
That's why
And-
the number's a little bit misleading, but
sure.
still a good and high number.
And my second comment is, I know the bane of our existence is our beautiful lake. Do we have more specific, like in your face? We don't want to get nasty, but they have to wear masks. Just people aren't, a lot of people are wearing them, but certainly.
I'm taking out my brown shirt again. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, I think you should.
We will be moving the signage around more and really trying to do it in that way. I noticed on Saturday and Sunday, Saturday after town meeting, I went down there and took a look. On Sunday, we walked around there. What I was seeing was small groups, a couple, 3 or 4 people. I didn't see any large groups there that day. Beautiful day Sunday was. Kind of hoping some crappy rainy days. It makes it a little bit easier for us. But we will continue with the messaging. We really don't want to go out and have to find people or threaten them. But I don't want to cut down the parking like we did before.
Yeah.
I think that hopefully there's enough, hopefully we can do it enough this way, but
Right.
we'll have to.
No, I think I agree with you on that. I think some people may not realize, which is shocking, but that it's a mandate now.
Right.
So
Well, hopefully the
before-
more we talk about that, the more it gets out there, and we are,
Good.
putting the flashing those wonderful flashing signs around. So we'll keep
All right.
moving this around.
Thank you for everything. Ed,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that one thing that has come up in the past is this idea of testing, because I do think the 20,000 number is not necessarily all that reflective, because we don't know how many people that actually counts. I know that testing is difficult in a lot of ways. Have we looked at any options through, say, like our ambulance company, for example, that would allow even for like a one-time, almost like we do our flu clinics or something along those lines? Because I've been getting a number of requests from residents. I know a lot of people are going to Saugus right now for that option, and that's a good option, albeit with long waits. But is there anything we can do even on a kind of like on a spot basis? Even a couple.
We will look into that again to have one. But I will say that the Saugus site is available Monday through Saturday, 2 to 7. So it's almost open all the time, and it's a drive-through and it's free. So I encourage people to go to that drive-through. It's at the Saugus Mall. I've talked to people that have gone there, and it's very quick and you're in and out very easily. But we will talk with our ambulance company. We've done a few. We did them for the teachers. We did them for, first responders, and maybe we can see what we can get another one here.
I do think it's the way we could do that, because the Saugus site is great, but it's not fast oftentimes. And people have sometimes been waiting for hours, in line there, just because it's in demand, obviously, So if there's a way that we could do it. Now, I don't know if there's a way we can tailor it so it is for Wakefield residents somehow. But I do think even having like 1 or 2 opportunities for residents would be something pretty significant.
Yeah, we can look into that. Yep.
I don't want to scare people off of the Saugus site though, because I've gone through it and waited maybe 30 minutes.
Sure, certainly.
Yeah, it was.
Same.
They were so wildly efficient. So I'm sure there are times when it's longer. Absolutely, Ed. But people should. It's almost in Wakefield, so you could take a little drive by to check it out. Any other questions or comments? No. All right. Thank you. Item number 9. I asked Ed to briefly present. I didn't put briefly in my comments, but I'm going to qualify it now, on Envision, because that has started up again, with getting some, real great legwork done to get us ready for next year. So Ed, if you could take it, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Envision Wakefield Downtown Revitalization Project is one that has actually been going on, but it's been a lot more kind of behind the scenes in recent months because of the stage that we're at with this project. I just had my most recent call along with Town Administrator Mayo today with VHB, and we got the latest update working with DPW as well. So at this point, I'm excited to report that we are nearing a pre-25% design review. And that's basically 25% becomes kind of like the standard where a lot of movement happens. Right now, VHB has been working with DPW and Bill Renault, specifically our town engineer, to get us to close to a 25% design. Now, this pre-25% design review would be a meeting that would happen between VHB, our DPW, and Mass DOT. And it basically it runs past Mass DOT what the design is to date, and then gets feedback and comment. It's a very technical review at this point, but it provides a lot of guidance to VHB. And candidly, they're quite familiar with what Mass DOT is looking for already. And so it's a matter of just running through and making sure everything looks to be on track, meeting all the requirements the state has with that. That meeting should be the early part of December. It's to be then, which is awesome. The pre-25% design review, once it's completed and ready to be presented to Mass DOT, it will also be available on our town's website. If you go to the About tab and then drop down to Envision Wakefield, you'll find it there in the coming weeks. Mass DOT will give its feedback, and then from there, VHB and our DPW will work together to complete a 25% design. It's expected that submittal will happen in either late January or early February. And so that puts us really on a great track, a great path forward. After that 25% is submitted, Well, then I would suggest we would convene a public forum for the HB to just review what has been submitted to Mass DOT. That process, it goes through a number of departments in Mass DOT. So that's going to be a several months long process. Once it's gone through that process, then in about 6 to 8 months, but we're ballparking probably late summer of 2021, there will be what's called a 25% design public meeting. And that's another forum, much like we've had already over the last couple of years, for the public to come out with Mass DOT representatives there to talk about the design, to answer any questions, and you get general community sentiment. Fortunately, we've had a number of those sessions already. And so I think we all have a pretty good sense of the direction of priorities for our residents. And then following that, we have a couple other milestones. That would be the 75% submittal stage, then 95%, then 100. And that is, we're probably looking at about a 9-month period after we have our design meeting to the point where we're getting to a more substantive, say 75 to 95% submittal. This project will continue to be broken up in phases, and that's by design. We literally can't do this entire project from the lake to the junction and down Water Street all at once. It's just not feasible, practically speaking. So this will be broken into phases. I was speaking today along with Mr. Mayo with the design team on that, and they're working through, what'll probably be a 4 or 5 phase project. And then as we identify each of these phases, then they get put on what's called the TIP funding list. And the goal is to be shovel ready so that when we get on a list, we can bump up and hopscotch over a number of other communities that maybe may not be shovel ready. The 2 biggest impediments generally are rights of way and environmental concerns. The project that we're looking at doesn't appear to really have either of those issues at play, which is significant for us, and that should move things along. And finally, I'll give you an update on the Albion Street phase. You may recall we had back in July that meeting and where we got tremendous public input and really, really meaningful thoughts from residents on that. This will be considered the first phase of the Envision project. And that the design is basically completed now through and that was in-house design through primarily our town engineer. And following the feedback that we got, it was incorporated in. That at this point, we expect that the Albion Street project to be going out to bid potentially as early as this Thursday, if not next. And we're right on schedule. Electrical work, and a lot of it is making sure that we do a lot of the lights, the lines for the lights and the electricity and the like. That will all be done over the winter is the plan with that. Sidewalks and plantings, you'll remember that we're doing mostly softscapes, so we're trying to soften Albion Street. That will be done in the spring. We'll have new light posts that will also be done at the same time, and they'll be dropped down to a pedestrian scale. So it'll be about, I think it's 18 feet or thereabouts versus much higher currently. And the road will also be repaved, and that's expected in the summer of 2021 in conjunction with the project. So we should be able to expect a completed Albion Street from Main to North Ave in late summer of 2021. And that'll be an exciting milestone. It'll also give everyone a really good sense of what the rest of the project will look like. And it will really serve as a prototype for the rest of the project as we head into that public hearing in probably, I would say, August of 2021.
Great.
That's where we're at.
Awesome. Ed, thank you so much. That's great information. Does anyone have any questions? Comments?
Just one.
Jonathan, and then Paul.
Thank you. Just a quick question. In terms of the scope on Albion Street, I know there was some discussion as to whether we had the funding for the Albion Street grant to do sort of the whole expanse from Main down to North Ave. Where did that end up? Are we looking at that whole piece, or have we cut that off prior to Main Street?
No, it'll actually be the whole segment from Main Street to North Ave.
No, actually, it's going to be Foster, Ed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Foster.
Oh, yeah.
My apologies. There were some design pieces to that section by Foster that had to be worked out separately from the complete streets.
Right.
Great. Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you. Just a quick question. you're saying right now that a design is going out to bid already. Has the council seen that final that's going out for bid? We had a discussion, but we never saw a final.
The design is going out to bid is what had been presented at that July forum with, taking into account the modifications. I don't know that Mr. Renault has circulated around the final design.
So we haven't approved it then.
That's correct. It was the bump out locations and sidewalks and plantings, correct.
Right, so my point is, I don't know what was finally decided on in regards to the bump outs. I had requested one thing. I'm not sure if it was even added to the design. So I don't know what's going out for bid. That's all I'm saying right now. I don't know what's going out for bid because I haven't seen the final that was going to be sent out. I mean, I thought there would be another approval process by the council before it went out to bid. That's where I just, because I haven't seen anything in engineering, hasn't sent anything to any of us that I know of.
I can certainly ask engineering to circulate it around to all of us, so we have that.
Can we, what happens if we don't agree on what's being presented though, Ed? Is there a recourse on that we can discuss, or is it just whatever he decides is what we're doing?
Well, I think it's fairness to Bill Renault. He was really pretty limited in terms of what he could do based upon how narrow that street is and what all the requirements are in terms of, distances and the like. So there wasn't a ton of creativity. I think the biggest issues, the areas where he did have, I'll say some creative license, was the surfaces and hardscapes versus softscapes. And it seemed pretty overwhelming that those that participated were in favor of the softscapes, which is the direction that I understand him to have gone in.
Okay, so is there a way that we can have the?
We can have that at the next meeting.
Excuse me?
Yeah, we can have that. Yeah.
I'd like to just get a look at what we're doing, that's all.
Yep.
I appreciate it, thank you. Ed,
Sure.
thank you for the update.
Any other questions or concerns? Nope. Okay, thanks, Ed. Moving on to item number 9, the bonds. We need a motion and a second for approval of the general obligation municipal purpose loan of 2020 bonds of the town dated November 19th, 2020 to Raymond James and Associates. Those bonds were all listed in your packet.
So moved.
So moved as in the packet. That works for me. Yeah.
So moved as in the packet. Tom, does that work for you? Excellent. Moved by Paul, seconded by Jonathan.
Can I just have a bit of discussion on this? if you don't mind?
Absolutely. I was just going to call for it. Yep.
Thank you. So anyways, I am absolutely thrilled at the at how we were received in the marketplace. I mean, having the AAA bond rating is wonderful and it's nice and we pat ourselves on the back for it, but it's really what it does. So we went for this round, $8,975,000 of general obligation bonds. Okay, that was what this rendition was for. Okay, and we had 5 of the 5 major companies bid on us, and the rates were between 1.6 and right around 2%. So these were pretty consistent rates with each other. And so for the people at home, think about it that we're going out to borrow a bond this money. And if you think about when you go to a bank and you pay points, so in this case, we're getting a total interest charge of basically about 1.6% of the life of the loan. And we are being paid on almost $9 million worth of bonds. We're being paid a premium, so that we are being given, the town is being given 1.1 million in like a point paid to the town in order for us to borrow from them. So I, for one, was very happy and thrilled with this. And I was kind of wondering where we stacked up against other communities. And I know that another AAA community with a Wayland in the South Shore paid 25 basis points more than we did, so I was thrilled with that. They happen to be the same client as our bond counsel, so I told him that's because he likes us best. But I'm just absolutely thrilled with this. And I also had our bond counsel run for me, what is the difference between having a AAA rating and a AA+ rating? And over the life of this $9 million here, it's $258,000 that the town will not be paying in interest. We get nothing better. We get nothing more for that. We don't get another streetscape improvement or anything. It's just money we paid in interest. So kudos to the council and the finance committee and to the town, because this is really a fabulous, fabulous rate and fabulous project for us. So thank you all. Sorry.
No, that's important information. Does anyone have any further discussion? Okay, moving along with the vote. Maureen,
Yes.
myself, yes. Jonathan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Peter, Julie,
Yes.
and Paul.
Yes.
Great, bonds approved. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Item number 10, a gift acceptance. I need a motion and a second, a request from the Council on Aging to approve gifts from various donors with thanks amounting to $3,097.
So moved.
Moved by Paul,
Second.
seconded by Julie. Any discussion? Great. Moving to the vote, Maureen. Yes,
Yes.
for me. Jonathan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Peter, Julie,
Yes.
and Paul.
Yes.
Excellent. Item number 11, a license. In our packets, there's a special license to sell wine at the farmer's market for their proposed, the winter holiday market that we voted on a couple of meetings ago. Steve, it looks like all the paperwork's in
All
order.
of it works in. This is just an extension because the previous approval expired with the expiration of the summer market. And as the council knows, we did agree to give them a couple more days, or they wanted to do a couple more days and we agreed.
No, and it's a vendor that's been at that market for
Yeah.
the last several
Very
years.
good vendor.
Great, thank you. So can I please have a motion and a second to award a special license to sell wine at the farmer's market for, forgetting their name.
Aronap.
I'm sorry? Aeronaut Sellers. Yep.
So moved.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Ed. His microphone's off, so I'm calling on you. Any discussion? All in favor? Maureen?
Yes.
Yes, myself. Jonathan?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Peter? Julie?
Yes.
And Paul?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to any announcements that folks have. You want to just hail or put your hand up? Paul Donaco, I see your blue hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have just three items that I would like to just touch base on. First, I would like to ask Mr. Mayo for consideration that when we go after the state budget request from our delegation, I know that we're looking possibly into seeking revenue for lost trees.
Yes.
Can we also try to see whether or not the delegation can afford us some relief in monies to remove the fallen trees from the rivers and streams throughout the town at the same time due to the same storm?
Yep.
If we can get any money from them, that would greatly help us in our efforts to remove some large trees that have crossed various streams and rivers across the town. So that was the one issue. Over the past, since our last meeting, I've had the opportunity to visit a few of the eateries on, or establishments on Broadway. Several of them have great concern with the fact that the railroad crossing is still closed. there are two white barriers at the intersection of Broadway and North. And most people believe that the street is completely closed to traffic. They're asking that the council or the town put up signs saying that, or do more to broadcast that there are still businesses open for business, at least to the crossing. Because those two white barriers there coming down North Ave, heading to the junction, you would assume that the street's completely closed by seeing those white barriers. So if we can do anything for the businesses on that small section of Broadway, they would appreciate it and I would appreciate it.
Yep, I agree. Yep.
The last matter is, over the last 2 months, there has been 2 instances where 18-wheelers in precinct 1 have taken down either excessive amounts of overhead wires or have snapped a pole in half. And it's occurred between Dunkin' Donuts in the Linfield line. Trucks are going into residential streets where they're not allowed. We need to do something about this. It took out Walton Street a month and a half ago, and it prevented any emergency vehicles from gaining access to that dead-end area for over 4 hours. That's unacceptable. There should be big signs telling those 18-wheelers, stay off of the residential streets. It's not Kimball, it's not Linfield. Then it happened again last week. A truck coming out of Kimball struck the pole across the street and it backed up traffic all the way to exit 42. There was nobody there that I know from the Wakefield that was directing traffic, but Linfield did a horrible job. They let the cars continue to go towards Linfield on Salem Street. Trucks were trying to turn around on Walton. They're going into the gym, trying to turn around in there. It was a madhouse. We need to do something to correct the approval that Linfield did for the UPS and Crystal Trucking, saying that they have to do left turns only. If that is upheld, why can't we turn around and say no truck traffic past this point greater than 6 tons? Let them go another route. Why are we being force-fed all these 18-wheelers in that area? My phone rang off the hook. Facebook messages, text messages. They called me and I tell them, have you contacted anyone else? You're the only one that listens. That's bullshit. I'm sorry for the language, but seriously, I'm not the only one that should be called. What am I? Just because I'm in the precinct, they're calling me? That's great. Okay, I'm their voice right now. There was that many that I need to bring it up. We need to do something. I don't know what the solution is, but before they organize, I think we should at least try to see if we can do something on our own. Thank you for your time. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to report the good news that we have, I believe, Steve, a signed contract with MAPC
Yes.
for them to support the facilitation of the development of our vision and values statement, which they have suggested terming this effort Wakefield Vision 2030. So very excited about that, though in ophthalmological terms, 2030 vision probably isn't very good. But it was great to hear this hit this milestone, and this gives us a chance to get going on some of this work. And so one of the next steps that we have is that we will be convening the advisory group that we had talked about back in February when I presented the idea to the council. We expect to convene that group sometime in the December timeframe. And I've reached back out to all the boards and committees that we had talked about having representation on that. So very excited to see that coming into play. And then once that group meets and we start to frame out the next steps, sort of the public process around this, including some virtual public gatherings and information sessions, some surveys that we'll be doing, and all of that will start to hit the streets after the first of the year. So keep an eye out for that. And again, thank you to Steve and to Jen McDonald for helping to move that along. Also did want to send my thanks to Wakefield Public Schools, the various PTO organizations across the town, Wakefield CPAC and WCAT for the great work in putting on the Parent University over the last week or so. Really, really excellent forums there. One in particular on equity and inclusion, which was really well done. As well as a lot of forums that I think were really timely right now on sort of the social and emotional impact of COVID and remote learning. A lot of great information on sort of using technology, which certainly for my wife and I was, a little eye-opening given, how quickly everything's moved online in a COVID world. So really appreciate the work that went into that, and the fact that even though Parent University was remote this year, it was no less incredible than it always is. Finally, just wanted to say thank you as well to everyone who came, first of all, out to vote last week or before Election Day. We had great turnout, as well as the folks who participated in town meeting. Incredibly grateful to Betsy Sheeran and her team in the town clerk's office. I don't think Betsy has slept in the last probably 3 weeks, but hopefully she had a chance to on Sunday. And also wanted to thank the folks at town meeting for supporting Article 3, the feasibility study for the high school. Great to see that moving forward, and know that that's something that we'll be spending some time on over the next year or so.
Thanks, Jonathan. Maureen.
Just three things. One, just to echo what Jonathan said, thank you, Steve and Bill and Betsy and WSAT and everyone who made town meeting safe and successful over the weekend. And the other update for people, my favorite topic, the community garden is officially closing for the season on November 15th. The water will be shut. Stay tuned for February, March for our lottery again to get a plot if you are interested next year. But anyone who has a plot now, November 15th, you won't be able to get water and access it. And just the other thing, and Steve might talk a little bit more about this, but the MBTA came out with proposals today. Pretty horrific, I'm going to say, for 2021. They are proposing to eliminate Cedar Park, the commuter rail station, and then eliminate 131 and 136, two bus lines, one that goes in Wakefield and one that's Malden, Melrose. They are looking for feedback. So if you go to their website, there's ways to give feedback on their website, and then they're doing all these virtual public forums and public meetings. And so, Steve, I'm hoping on our website we can kind of share that information. I know ridership is down. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I understand that, but as most people know, it's really hard to get back buses and commuter rail stops once they're gone. And as someone who uses that 136 regularly, it's kind of frightening. And I know, and a lot of other people here use the commuter rail and the buses. And in our town, it's why many of us moved to Wakefield. So I'd love if we officially, Steve, could put in something on behalf of the town, and then also just share those virtual forums with people so people can weigh in. I think they need to hear from us as a community that eliminating a bus line and a commuter rail stop that a lot of people, even in Wakefield, use. Actually, no, people ride their bike from Wakefield to that stop because it's easier to get your bike on that stop. So yeah, check out their website and hopefully we'll link to it.
It's not the best website in the world. You got to work a little bit.
Yes, that's why if we put some stuff on our website and our social media, it would be appreciated. I had to confer with Steve. I'm like, are they eliminating 136? It looks like that's what they're doing. So yes.
And Maureen, just to point out the date for that, it's actually December 1st is the MBTA public meeting for our region. starting at 6 o'clock. And I think you can register for the Zoom if you go to the MBTA website on the Forging Ahead page. Sorry to step in, but yeah, I know I didn't see what they recommended today, but that's pretty alarming that they're talking about eliminating bus routes entirely.
At ferries too. Not that we have a ferry in Wakefield yet, but if we do one day, they're eliminating.
Which would be cool.
They're also system-wide, so they're doing it regional, but there's also 2 dates. I got the system-wide is November 19th at 6 and December 2nd at 6. So the system-wide are before they go into regional. So if you care about, you know, other regions or work somewhere where it could be affected, please pay attention.
I think we should put something together from the town. We did it once before. I find it so disingenuous that they're going to try to argue. It's been mismanaged for how many years? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Of course, ridership is down, but as soon as it lifts, it's going to go, you know, it might not be as crowded, but wear a mask, people will feel safe. So that would be really terrible if they eliminated our access.
Yeah, and the one other thing that they're proposing is that all commuter rails will, they'll have no more weekend commuter rail, and all commuter rails will end at 9 p.m. like all services. So anyone who works night jobs or weekend jobs, the commuter rail will just not be an option anymore. So that was also.
Boston will never be a first-class city if they do that. That is so short-sighted. Anyways, that's my rant. Ed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did want to just thank our town clerk and town clerk's office, and also all the poll workers this past Tuesday, who really did just a phenomenal job. They provided a really safe, efficient way to vote. So thank you to all of them for that. If you have another topic, if you have an issue where, say, a tree was taken down due to a storm, or there's a tree that's been missing for a really long time, I've been working with Mr. Mayo on our tree restoration within town, and I have confirmation from him that the best way to report a location where a tree may need to be replaced is by emailing Mr. Mayo directly at smayo@wakefield.mass.us. And if you could just put in the subject trees, he will be sure to make sure that he pushes that along to the right person, our forestry department, and make sure we get that squared away. But please do reach out, because there is a bit of a push right now to make sure we can restore as much as we can. And finally, this is an important week. We have Veterans Day coming up this week on Wednesday. So I know we have a lot of veterans in our town. Want to thank all of you, for your tremendous service to our town and to our country, and also recognize all of those active duty currently deployed as well, and those in the reserves as well. So thank you, everyone, men and women, for your service. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ed. Julie.
Thank you. The Light Department met last week, and just 2 things to keep on everybody's radar. First, the solar program, the solar incentives that have been going on for a little over a year are coming to an end at the end of December, but there still is space. So if people are thinking about it, definitely now is the time to do it. They also instituted for the first time ever an energy efficiency program for commercial and industrial customers. So essentially customers who are into the higher usage rates of electricity. So this is really exciting. Steve, they kind of asked how to get the word out to businesses, and I suggested maybe our new community and economic development person might be a good resource, as well as the development committee that I guess I don't know where we are on that, but as that gets formed, might be another resource as well. Staying on the same ilk, we collected 2,000 pounds of pumpkins last week. Woodville really stepped up. I think they had 7 pumpkins last year, and they were one of the leaders this year. So about the same amount as we did in previous years. So that was super fun and exciting, even though the kids weren't around to throw them into the truck. And finally, just kind of related to town meeting, which of course, as everybody said, went well, as did the election. I sat in on the planning meeting on Thursday night, which talked about the zoning, which was really inspired by the development around the lake. And what it really spoke to me was that I think we really need a community conversation around this. And so I'm really happy to hear, Jonathan, that the visioning is happening, because I think that might be the right place to do it. So I think what's been identified more than kind of the details is that there needs to be some conversation and probably not a rush going. So that's just my observation. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie. I just very quickly want to echo that. Thank Betsy and her staff, the DPW, everyone that helped make not just the voting, but town meeting wonderful. And I was approached by one of our well-known octogenarians who told me how fabulous he thought the town meeting went. And here's someone who clearly is, you know, one of the higher risks populace, but he felt safe. He was sitting outside and just was so happy to be a part of it. So I thought that was, I'm so glad we went forward with that. Tom and Steve, do you have any parting comments?
None for me, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone's support at town meeting. That did go very well, and I do want to single out our DPW guys and WCAT. Did a great job getting that place ready. I mean, really above and beyond.
Great, thanks, Steve. Item number 13, are there any matters not anticipated for the agenda? No, seeing none. I will entertain a motion and second for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Ed,
Second,
seconded by Paul. No discussion. Maureen?
Yes.
Me, yes. Jonathan?
Yes.
Ed?
Aye.
Peter? Julie?
Yes.
Paul?
yes.
Great. Thank you all so much. Thank you, WCAT, as always. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Please thank a veteran if you know one or see one on Wednesday. Take care, everyone.